Hello.
Hello.
My name's Trevor.
And I'm Eleanor.
And together we're Topocketer.
And we make animated books.
And we call them boovies.
So that's not a book, it's not a movie, it's a boovie.
It's a book-movie hybrid.
Yeah.
And our first boovie is a children's book called Galdo's Gift, which has animated illustrations, text personalisation, pop-up definitions, activities. Gosh, there's so much. And what are we going to be talking about today, Emily?
Today we're going to talk about from storyboard to screen. So it's about our experience from drawing through to the final product, and it may well help other people writing their books and also people who are making an animation themselves.
And we're going to concentrate mainly on one particular scene, which is Brendara and the bats, and take you through that process. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Okay.
This is the scene that we're going to take you through, which is Brendara and the bats. And yeah, let's press play on that.
Let's press play.
So you can see it in all its lovely animated glory.
There she is, Brendara in the cave with the bats and the blunderbuss.
Sounded like Cluedo.
Cluedo style.
Yeah. And let's just take you through from where we start and the various stages after that. So, well, how do you make a storyboard? Start with a template, which is something like this, and just print out loads of these or copy them, whatever. And you want basically to have the proportions that you're going to have in your final image. So in this case, we've got 4x3.
Yes.
Even though we didn't end up with...
We actually chose something different in the end, which does actually give you more work.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying you should actually think it through.
Don't make mistakes. Yeah, don't make the mistakes that we made. And yeah, you just start drawing the key points of your story.
It's the key scenes, yeah. So you can see the sort of thread going through the story. Yeah.
And you can look at... You notice on the one we've got up on the screen that you can put arrows in there to sort of show a pan, or we've got dolly back, or so the camera move basically. So you have to think of each image as what the camera is seeing, and try and show if there's a camera move, how
the difference and the change. Yeah.
Why is a storyboard useful? Well, a storyboard is very useful because it makes sure that everybody is on the same page.
Yes, so if there's more than one person working on it,
maybe two,
it means that we're both talking about the same thing. There's not sort of the crossed wires that could be otherwise.
No.
But even if you're working on your own, I think it's really useful because you can sort of see your story development and any sort of thread going through, any sort of stages that have one sort of rhythm and then another. It's really useful in that respect.
Yeah, it really helps you sort of see the whole story in its entirety, and you can kind of look and see how things relate to each other throughout the story.
Yeah.
And as you can see, we keep ours stuck on the wall all the time, so we can constantly refer to it.
Yeah, it's always there, so you can always just double check and see if you're aiming in the right direction.
Do you need to add colour? Well, you don't necessarily need to add colour. And I've seen plenty of storyboards that don't have colour, but we find it quite useful to add colour.
It's almost part of the story for us, because each sort of key scene has its own
colour
palette and theme. Although there's complementary colours in there, there's the sort of standout colours. And so on here you can see on the top we've got Strompoff in the swamp. And he's green and blues. And then down the bottom we've got Brendara in the cave, and the cave sort of reddy orange browns. In our storyboard, as you can see, she's green, but
yes, she didn't stay green. She ended up going a bit more lilac
because we'd moved from Strompoff, who he's green, greeny blues, and we wanted to differentiate more.
Yeah, exactly. So they each have their own sort of colour palette.
And also, she is an auntie, so we went with the purple rinse,
Of course.
and the mauve pinks, and it suited her quite well,
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely.
But that's more character development, I suppose, so we
It
will
is.
talk
We'll
about
save
that
that for
another
another time. How do you start making a scene? Yeah. Well, we do make many a scene, don't we? Well, you start with bits of paper, or at least we do.
Layers of paper.
And you sort of just lay them out, maybe on a tabletop to begin with, but then Eleanor, who creates the scenes, the scenery and the sets, is creating it a little bit like a little theatre set, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's sort of slightly different ways, but this one was just building up in paper layers, and you can see it relating back to the storyboard quite closely. But you can sort of shuffle things around and see if they're going to work, basically. Yeah,
exactly. And you have a way of kind of framing them, don't you? Which is
oh yes, thank you.
You've got your props.
So
we've got the framing that we've got from the storyboard.
You sort of work out what your proportions are, and then actually see what the camera will see. Yeah. And this highlights another thing that you should look out for, which we've done for you, in that basically.
Gaps.
Gaps. Yes. So
where things don't quite meet the edge of frame,
you need to make things much bigger that go outside the frame parameter.
Yeah.
So if there is a slight camera move, or it's a wider camera angle, or it goes up and down, whatever, you've got leeway. It doesn't just sort of run out like have
it does here. Oops. Yeah, and that's why that's quite good to have this frame, because you can sort of look at it through that and then suddenly realise that other bits might need extending, or you need extra bits to kind of hide gaps.
So here we have it. And so
here we have it. Yes, this is the cave. So this isn't a paper model, but it's how we lay it out in the computer. Yeah. So that by this time we've scanned in the drawings, and we're starting to lay it out in the computer. And this is another place where you find out things might not meet the edge of frame, or you need to put extra bits in.
Bump into each other. They sort of intersect.
Yeah, bits that are moving. Yeah, might intersect. So you kind of find that out just by laying them out in the computer like this.
Oh.
And yes, adding the characters. So in this case, we've got an early rendition of Brendara and the bats,
and rendition of the cave, actually, because we put a lot more layers in there.
Yeah, we did, and we opened up the back of the cave as well, didn't we? So we just wanted to give it a bit more depth. So we thought, instead of just ending it in a blank wall, we'd open that up and give you a chance to have scenery in the background and sort of place it in an environment.
Yes, yeah.
And also you can see the bats look quite different to how they finally look.
So these are them taken directly from the storyboard, aren't they?
They are, yeah.
So bearing in mind they need to move.
It's not very helpful to have them like this, which is just in one piece. So next stage on was to create the characters and really think about how the parts would move.
Yes.
And it's almost like making a little wooden toy. You need to hinge bits.
So they've got pivot points.
Exactly. And so thinking about things like the legs, I think normally the legs are attached to the wings in bats.
Yes.
But for practicalities of this...
He now has chicken legs.
So they can see him in action. Yeah. I mean, it's a fantasy creature in a way.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cheat.
Oversized, blood-sucking bats. Yeah.
He looks like a wolf.
A wolf with chicken legs.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can kind of see how we had to start thinking about the movement and things like that. So once again, this is a bit more character development, and we'll talk about that in other videos. But we just wanted to kind of show you how we start extrapolating what we've got on the storyboard.
Yeah. And working it through paper models into the computer space.
Yes. Yes. Well, carrying on the process in the computer, we've sort of shown a little bit of that where we started to lay them out. But as you can see here, we also have to section everything out into bits.
So as the cave was made in layers, so all the characters are made in layers as well. So these would go in front or behind each other, depending on the movement you need them to do. And so this is Brendara.
Yeah, and the way we work, sometimes it's difficult to tell exactly how they're going to end up, because yes, we've got the storyboard, and that's where it is very useful. You know where you're heading in a way, but when you started drawing out these bits, it's very much trial and error to see how it ends up and whether she looks right.
But at the same time, you can swap bits out.
You can swap
when
bits
you're not
out.
Very happy with them.
No, exactly. Things like chins and jaws and noses. Yeah. So we went through quite a few variations on the jaw.
We held a vote on which mouth and nose. Actually, there's only we definitely chose the nose quite early.
Yeah, I think we ended up with. I think it was this one down here. Yeah, there was some sort of, I don't know, some quibbly lips and all sorts of things to. Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
There she is.
Edition.
One quibbly lip. Then a
so
sort
you
of
look at the mouth.
Po-faced, and then the final one is a bit more brutish. Yeah. So obviously it all develops from the storyboard, but if you have a good starting point, you're not completely wayward. You do know you have a rough idea where you're heading, even if you don't quite get every single little last piece right. So many problems. Well, we've detailed a little bit about that in terms of gaps on the edge of the screen and covering those up. And
things bumping into each other.
And characters, giving them joints and sorting out chins on characters and things like that.
There's a lot in the lighting and the timing as well, actually.
Yes.
Working through, which is not necessarily from the storyboard, but you check back to storyboard to see what the feel was that you were after.
Yeah, exactly. But it is a prime example of showing how things change and develop from the original storyboard. So the things like placing it in the environment.
Yes, we wanted to show Galdovia outside. So in each scene there is a backdrop, basically.
Yeah, start to place things. If you were observant enough, you would start to see where they might actually be.
Yes, even what time of day we thought of.
We did. And we're adding little details, because it's a children's book. We wanted things that a parent and child can discuss.
Yes.
So very early on we started thinking about extra little details that we can add.
Yeah, and this we actually did add treasures that you'd have thought they would have taken back. Possibly they did, possibly they didn't. You'll have to read through. But and they're not necessarily mentioned either. So that's kind of here we go. This is
so the
chalice.
observant among you will notice this chalice, and once again, these are hidden little things that can be discussed between parent and child.
Yeah.
We added treasures that they could have brought back if they were clever enough. And
even drawings, cave drawings. And this is a cave drawing of Sir Strompoff's llama.
Yeah.
Just to sort of start connecting back.
Exactly.
And we've also got the moth here.
The moth helps tie all the scenes together. The moth was its own little character, if you like, but that was something that threaded through each scene. So the moth is there every single scene. You can spot it. And also provided a lot of extra life to some of the scenes. Yeah. Because we were having shots that were mostly locked off like this. We wanted anything that would give it extra bit of life, although we've got a lot of movement in there. Mm-hmm. The moth really helped in that case.
Yeah.
So there you go. We've sort of taken you through the main points of creating a particular scene.
Yes.
And other videos will take you through other aspects of character development,
we just touched on
writing and various other things.
Movement.
Exactly.
Scenery development.
Yeah. But if you like what you see, then please subscribe.
Do subscribe.
And we're going to do a lot more videos like this, and eventually, hopefully, we'll be taking questions from our subscribers.
Quite soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
As soon as you've got a question, just ask, and we'll see if we can answer it.
So if there's any questions about this that you would want to answer, mention them down in the comments, and we can do follow-up comments.
Yes, yeah.
And
the plan is that we will have a plan of what we're doing next. Yes. So you can then, say what you might be interested in.
Exactly. So follow us on social media, and we'll put out the theme for that particular week, and we can get your questions and everything.
Okay.
That'd be great.
Lovely, yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for watching.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.